Hi, and welcome to the Neursurf readings. My name is Barbara Krasnoff. I'm your host for this evening, and tonight we have a wonderful program for you. We have poetry, prose, and music from Carlos Hernandez, CSE Cooney, Dr. Mary Crowell, and Tina Connolly. It's going to be a great program. Before I start, a few announcements. Actually, we don't have too many announcements tonight. NERSIF is for the present remaining virtual, although we hope to change that as soon as it's practical. We are here monthly, usually on the first Tuesday of every month, but of course, this month we are not. We're on Thursday. And we will be accessible both on Facebook and on Jim Freund's YouTube channel. If you're watching on Facebook and you're having problems, move to YouTube. The YouTube URL is the link is should be in the Facebook description. And while we miss meeting you all in person, the advantage is we can present authors who are not in the New York City area. And today we have people who are from all over. Finally, we do have some great guests coming in 2023, but we can't announce them yet, but they are coming. If you enjoy this and you want to make a donation, you can do that at paypal.com/paypalme, one word, /OurWolf, HOURWOLF. And finally, our producer tonight and engineer is, of course, Jim Freund, and our audience wrangler, who will be taking your questions later, is Amy Goldschlager, as always. Well, the first thing we are going to present you is a poem by Carlos Hernandez, and let me give you his bio. Carlos Hernandez is the author of the Assimilated Cuban's Guide to Quantum Santeria, Sal and Gabi Break the Universe, for which he won the Pura Belpré Award. Forgive me if I did not pronounce that correctly. Sal and Gabi Fix the Universe, and numerous short stories, poems, and other speculative works. In September, his America Chavez short story appeared in Marvel's Voices Comunicadas. Oh, I'm sorry, Voices Comunidades. And his Miles Morales short story 43 will be coming out from Marvel Infinity on December 24th, 1922. So any day now. By day, Carlos is a professor of English at the City University of New York with appointments at BMCC and the Graduate Center. He is both a game enthusiast and designer, most recently of Negocios Infernales, a devilishly ghoulish role-playing game he co-created with his wife, award-winning writer CSE Cooney. And you can find Carlos on the social networks at Write, Teach, Play. And here is Carlos.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Barbara. It's so good to see you. It's so good to see everybody. I have been to many NY New York Review of Science Fiction readings and have participated a few times. We've done this holiday special a few times. Very glad to be here. This year, we thought we would go a little ghoul on Yule, and we thought we would go maybe a little bit on the side of the scary ghost story side of this kind of holiday season. So we're all going to feature devils and macabre stories, and I'm going to read to you a poem that I wrote for this occasion. This is a world premiere, everybody, and it features a pair of claves. You can say it claves, by the way. It doesn't have to be claves. Pompous asses, beware. We are on to you. That one's for Mary. But I'm going to be using some claves here to accent this poem, which is called The Demons That Wander in Winter. The demons that wander in winter did not exist moments before. Their womb was the black, deathly banter of stories we tell round the hearth, as cholera sweeps through our village, and chimneys exhale last breaths, and houses entire go lightless, and horses with bells on their bridles, pulling sleighs full of carolers, canter no more on the snow-smothered streets. It's winter. Now everyone weeps. But think of each tear as a womb from which a new demon is born. It arrives all at once, fully formed, ironic and playful and wrong. 5 fingers it has on its tongue, which itself is as long as an arm, and it stalks round the village to harm all the good souls who don't lock their doors and forget to lay charms on their windows to ward off disease and contagion and all of its foul machinations. It's winter. The demon tongue reaches. The demon will crouch by a window and watch as its tongue turns to smoke and sneaks its way through the rot-whittled panes to grasp at the throats of the young and the old and turn them to smoke and pull them away from this life and this hearth and this home. The demon with fingers that grows from its tongue is disease and our fear of disease. So let us, as long as we can, huddle close and be glad for these walls and these doors. It's winter. We'd best stay indoors. How's that for a kickoff? Yay, claims! Okay, Barbara, back to you and the next group of players.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Next, we are going to have some scenes and songs from a work in progress musical theater podcast called The Devil and Lady Midnight from CSE Cooney, Dr. Mary Crowell, and Tina Connolly. But first, I'm going to read off their bios. CSE Cooney, who uses she and her, is a World Fantasy Award-winning author. Her books include Saint Death's Daughter, Dark Breakers, Desdemona and the Deep, and Bone Swans stories, as well as the poetry collection How to Flirt in Faerieland and Other Wild Rhymes, which includes her Risling Award-winning poem, The Sea King's Second Bride. In her guise as a voice actor, Cooney has narrated over 120 audiobooks, as well as short fiction for podcasts such as Uncanny Magazine, Beneath Ceaseless Skies, and Podcastle. As a singer-songwriter Brimstone Rhine, she crowdfunded for 2 EPs, Alecto, and The Headless Bride, and produced 1 album, Corbeau Blanc, Corbeau Noir. Her plays have been performed in several countries, and her short fiction and poetry can be found in many speculative fiction magazines and anthologies, most recently a minnow or perhaps a colossal squid in Paula Guran's Year's Best Fantasy Volume 1, Snowed In and Bridge to Elsewhere, and Megaton Comics proudly presents Captain Mia Episode 1, Captain Comeback Saves the Day. I love the title. In the Sunday Morning Transport, all in collaboration with her husband, the writer and game designer Carlos Hernandez. Forthcoming soon from Outland Entertainment is a tabletop role-playing game co-designed by Cooney and Hernandez called Negocios Infernales. You can find her at csecooney.com. Dr. Mary Crowell is a musician from Alabama. She's released 4 studio albums. I Have Missed You at My Table in 2022, an album of gaming songs. Scattering Seeds on the Pomegranate Tour, 2017, funded through a Kickstarter and focusing on mythology and mortality. Acolytes of the Machine and Other Gaming Stories from 2012, and Courting My Muse from 2007. Additionally, Mary's released EPs of music she made for her patrons of her Patreon. Dr. Crowell has a bachelor's degree from Huntington College in Montgomery, Alabama. She earned her Master's of Music in Musicology and Doctor of Musical Arts and Composition from the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. She teaches music at her private home studio on Calhoun Community College. Mary performed with several bands, played with Moxie, Three Weird Sisters, and Dead Sexy, as well as accompanying a church choir and playing bass clarinet in her local community band. She arranges for instrumental ensembles and choirs. She's created collaborative music for her Patreon, and 2 of these, I Put My Low Stat and M is for Magic Missile, were included in Origins Game Fair's Film Festival. You can find her at magnusretail.com. Tina Connolly, who uses she, her, writes fantastical stories for kids, teens, and grown-ups. Some of them are serious, and some of them involve flying bananas. Her stories and books have been finalists for the Hugo, Nebula, Norton, Locus, and World Fantasy Awards. Her books include the Ironskin Fantasy Trilogy from Tor Books, the Seriously Wicked YA series from Tor Teen, and the forthcoming Choose Your Own Adventure book, Glitter Pony Farm. Her plays have been performed as part of Portland's Fringe Festival Fertile Ground, and her narrations have appeared in over 100 audiobooks and podcasts. She co-hosts the Hugo-nominated podcast Escape Pod and runs the Parsec-winning flash fiction podcast Toasted Cake. Find her at tinaconnolly.com. And here they are.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, everyone who's watching tonight and far into the future for the archives. I am so pleased to be here with my friends Tina and Mary. At the beginning of this year, 2022, Tina came to me and she was like, "Hey, Cooney, you want to collaborate on something?" And I was like, "Yes, in fact, I do." And then we were like, "You know who else should collaborate with us? Dr. Mary Crowell." And
Pick
then
me.
yeah, yes. And we all started collaborating once a week for about 90 minutes on Wednesday afternoons on a 6-episode musical theater podcast called The Devil and Lady Midnight, which is sort of in homage to Bulgakov's Master and Margarita and The Phantom of the Opera. But all you really need to know is the devil comes to New York to make some friends. We're going to read from scene 1 of episode 1, and then we are going to have a few songs that aren't there's going to be a song included in this scene, and then a few songs in scenes and episodes that are in the future, which will sort of put you in the place where they belong. But without further ado, Mary will be reading stage directions, and then a few extra characters like the Rats of New York City, Lucy's Boborigmus, and Lucy's Shadow, Lucy being the devil. Tina will be reading the narrator, who has a secret, but you don't find that out in this episode. So I'm just telling you to wet your whistle. And I will be playing Lucy Lumen, aka the devil herself. I think that's all you need to know. Am I missing anything, my friends?
No.
Okay, excellent.
Good.
Hang on just a second. No, what? Go ahead. Some Borborigmus might be a late. That's all.
Okay.
No worries.
So the cold open, and that would be, you're good for you, Mary, or do you want Carlos to read this for now since he is here?
You know what? Let's have Carlos read this, and then I'll thumbs up.
Okay, excellent. We'll keep an eye. Carlos, come back on screen. So if you'll read stage directions and all the other characters.
Okay. Episode 1, coming soon to an underground near you. Cold open. The sound of typewriter keys, the ding of the margin bell, ding, and the rollback.
In the beginning, there was Lucy Lumen.
The sound of New York City, the underground roar of subways, street traffic, horns, sirens, footsteps, voices.
Lucy emerges fully formed from the darkness of a New York alleyway. She rises out of a seething whirlpool of rats.
Squeak, 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 squeak.
And looks around.
Whoa.
She seems surprised to be here.
Hey there, little buddies.
The rats say, "Hey, Lucy!"
Now, at first, Lucy is naked, but the moment she notices, she says,
"Let there be clothes."
And verily clothing appears on her body, stretching behind her, her shadow.
Hello, Shadow.
Hi, Lucy.
Does not match the body that casts it. She is, in a word, the devil.
Well, I mean, that's a word for it, sure. One word, but...
The devil.
And then Mary will play. We're a well-oiled machine. Well-oiled. Super lubricated.
All right, here we go. Hello, just as I found the script too. All right.
Yeah.
She's in the devil. She's in the details, the devil, you know. Make your fine excuse as a kiss, then you go. You'll never escape her, she's clever indeed, dear. Kissed a ring and promised you'll never be free. It's time to remind you that she is gonna find you. The stars have aligned, true love unkind. Look in the mirror, there's a lady getting nearer. Future's never clearer, and you miss your song.
Pomegranate Tour Productions presents The Devil and Lady Midnight, Episode 1, coming soon to an underground near you. Scene 1, a street in New York.
What's a devil really? She's the everlasting outsider, always peeping through the window into other people's lives. A waif, perpetually on the lookout for family to call her own. A sparrow in winter who broke her wings when she fell, and
The sound of brakes, a screeching halt, a long horn. New York taxi driver shouting, "Get out of the fucking road!"
and
And
she fell asleep, her head filled with smoke, and she fell asleep, and then she woke up here, I guess, in
New York.
do I know New York?
The sounds of a New York subway, sirens, plastic bucket drums in the distance, a gabble of voices in crescendo, like a symphony.
You do now.
Lucy gasped.
And just like that,
It hits me.
all that history,
All those people,
all
all
at
at
once.
once. Knickerbocker country,
Empire City.
city that never sleeps. Oh, I've been asleep for so long.
What's the last thing you remember?
Paris?
Which Paris?
There was more than one?
A city can be infinite.
Like me. Anyway, I don't remember the details. Never mind boring old Paris. Why pine for an old love when I've woken in the arms of another? New York!
Take a whiff.
Ah, smells like a Tuesday night when the trash is ripe and the rats are out in force. Makes me hungry. Oh, hi, Belly.
Hi, Lucy.
What is a devil after all but the sum of her appetite?
Belly, you sound ravenous. We must get you fed. Stat.
Lucy Lumen is only ever hungry for one thing.
Friends.
The devil's appetite for friends is infinite.
I'm an extrovert.
You're insatiable.
For some of us, hunger and loneliness are the same thing.
Lucy, hungry.
I hear you, Belly. I'm ready. Just point me in the right direction.
That way.
Lucy Lumen emerges from her nondescript alley onto a street somewhere in the Lower East Side.
Where the hell are we?
Specifically on Canal and Eldridge. She finds herself standing outside a particular diner.
That seems a little on the nose.
The Broken Bridge Diner, open daily 6:30 a.m. till 11:30 p.m.
What time is it now?
The hour is either very late or very early. Lucy Lumen can't tell. She's never had a great sense of time.
Thanks.
She takes her cues from the cardinal positions, the relative positions of the sun and the moon. But this evening, or perhaps early morning, in the shadow of the New York City skyline, she has no fucking clue.
Real big help.
Lucy turns to the glass doors of the diner, hungrier than she has ever been before.
Whoever you are, new best friend, I know you're in there somewhere. You and we're going to have the most wonderful time. Belly's never yet led me astray. Oh, friend, I hope you like me. I admit I'm a little nervous.
Deep breath, Lucy.
You can do it! You can do it! You can do it, Lucy!
Thanks, guys. Let's go.
A doorbell opening, the ding of a diner doorbell.
Enter Lucy Lumen, center stage.
And then we have Mary. Untangling. Oh, she's a beauty. Perfect.
Hello. And then we reprise it and it goes. The muse commands you to hear you are bound. She whispers glory, your favorite sound. Your hers forever, you'll never retire. After all she gave you, your heart's desire.
Woo! So that's scene 1 of episode 1 in the current draft because it's nowhere near done, but we are having so much fun working on it. And we're going to do 2 more songs for you. Tina is going to honor us all by playing the ukulele. This is a great song because the character that she's going to play, Judith is like an actor turning 40 right after COVID. She hasn't worked for several years. She's working in a diner, also a hard hit industry in New York. And she has an opportunity to audition for the devil. So she's going to bring her little showpiece, which is, at the bottom of an actor's resume where it says other talents or other skills. Tina actually, when she was writing this song, asked a bunch of actors, what are your other skills? And she folded them all together, plus her own, plus made up ones, into this glorious ukulele song about your other skills called I'm Middling on the Ukulele.
Thank you, Claire. Yes, I sourced many of these from actor friends, so thank you all. You know who you are. And some of them are indeed drawn from my own experience, especially the middling on the ukulele part. All right. I'm decent at a sight read. I'm a mezzo when I warm up. I studied French in high school, but mostly for the baguettes. I'm second rate on stunt fighting, borderline on bicycling, and just beginning on the ukulele. I'm acceptable at dialects, but definitely not Australian. I throw my shrimp on the barbie and then go pack my cat. At improv, I am fairly good. I make up songs just like I should. Something, 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 ukulele. Wow, I am not selling myself. I can fake a good death scene. I can play the tambourine. I can take a cream pie in the face. That did not come out right. I've twice been the butt of an elephant. I can snap my fingers, you laugh, and yet I can whistle any tune that you can play. I'm commonplace at contradance, adequate at acrobats, passable at pratfalling, moderate at moonwalking, second rate at spit taking, kinda good at quick changing, just beginning juggling, middling at miming things, not so bad at singing a long patter song that doesn't have any places to breathe, except for when I've been up here for what seems like hours going through my whole resume and now it all sounds like garbage. But I am more than my bag of tricks. All the jumps, all the kicks. There is just one thing I want to be. And that's the me that gets to find the truth behind every line. The me that helps you all to see the world. So if you let me show you now, I'll speak the truth as I know how. But I'm standard, unexceptional, fair to middling, passable, ordinary on the ukulele.
I love it so much.
I love it.
Thank you,
Every
thank
time
you.
it makes me happy. So happy.
It's such a happy song.
I had so much fun writing that song.
Tina also wrote the lyrics to this next one. Mary has written all the music. And then we collaborated. We we each write scenes and then we like rewrite. So we all kind of collaborated on this one. We were at a writers retreat in New Orleans, and that was really fun. And the idea behind this next one coming up is called the Park Bench Waltz. And two of the characters are old friends of Lucy Lumen, like knew her back in Paris. Two different Parises, the Paris of the late 18th century, just before the Terror, and the Paris of the late 19th century, right about the time where the Phantom of the Opera would have been, stalking chorus girls at the Paris Opera House. So these two characters are a Parisian poet named Didier and the Phantom of the Opera, who we call Mr. Og, which is a joke, OG for opera ghost. And long ago, they made bargains with Lucy and the Parises of old. They made bargains with her to be her friend, to love her forever, to stick around. She made them immortal. And then she occasionally just falls asleep. She disappears. She goes into the earth like a locust. She doesn't know why it happens, but she tends to abandon her friends and leave them forsaken, bereft, and immortal. And eventually in the 20th century, in the 1970s or so, these two gentlemen found each other in New York, and they've been buddies ever since. They meet in Washington Square Park, and they share croissants and donuts and talk about the good old days. So the beginning of the Park Bench Waltz is Didier and the Phantom of the Opera talking about the good old days with Lucy and how they miss her. But you'll hear a change at the end of the song, a darkening. And that's because it's going to be a reprise. And it will be later on when they realize she's come back in the present day and in the day of our podcast. And she's a threat to the people that they have come to love, because they know what she'll do. She'll kind of ruin them. She'll drive them to do chaotic things, and then she'll abandon them and they won't know what to do with themselves. So it's a duet, but Mary's going to sing it all by herself because she's super brave. And just imagine two old friends, Park Bench Waltz in Washington Square.
All right. And for this, I'm going to take off my headphones again, because I can hear me. All right. Be delighted, brightening the chorus. It's better now. She laughed at my sonnet and stole my thesaurus. Better now. She burgled my mask for some gay escapade. Slipped Pinot Noir on my finest brocade. Why do I wish that she never had strayed? It's better now. Amsterdam, she skipped out on the check. Of course she would. Trashed the Palais Versailles and left it a wreck. All those mirrors. She ran afoul of the Three Musketeers. Scared off my fans with a glass chandelier. But life was far blister. She disappeared. Better now. Under the sewers, it seemed that she saw me alive, right? She understood hunger can be a tsunami. Poetic. Thanks. I had Taught me to live without any mask. I had all the glory I ever could ask. How could we possibly take her to task? Boring now. It's humdrum and sad, so dull, no pizzazz. What are we going to do? I even miss that cat she had, and I wouldn't go that far. Deal with the devil with problems galore. She ruined our lives, but she wasn't a bore. Raise her son to the one we adore. Better now, but it was more interesting. But it'll be better now. Who showed up at the office this morning? Hell, you say. Like a tornado without any warning. A hurricane. She's a bloodhound who's smelling the glove. A predator hunting the lady I love. She left me alone when push came to shove. I'm bitter now. Have to protect her now. We have vendetta now. All right.
Thank you, Mary. I think, oh yeah, so then I believe we're gonna go to Carlos reading his short story, and then I'll close us out with a poem. So I'm gonna cede my seat to Hernandez here. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks. As cameras get adjusted and views get adjusted, we're also going to adjust the mood a little bit. That was extremely joyous and very, very fun. But now, if you've got those lava lamps, light them up. If recreational marijuana is legal in your state, light them up. We are going to get a little bit new wave groovy here. If you are confused for the first 30 seconds of this story, you're doing it right. This story was published in Uncanny Magazine earlier this year, and it's a ghost story, and it is called "I Will Have This Diamond for a Heart." When time was reborn, Soul asked, "Where am I?" "You're in the idea," said Soul. Now that time existed again, Soul could take a moment before replying. "Which idea?" "Yours." Soul tried to swallow, except they were no longer equipped with any sort of apparatus for swallowing, and the idea of swallowing, divorced from actual swallowing, brought no relief. "It's over," Soul said. "There's nothing left for me, is there?" Sounded Soul a little wounded. "You have me, and for that I am grateful, so grateful. Being alone here would be worse than death." Consoled was Soul, and added, "And your thoughts, you have your ideas." But it was hard for Soul not to be bitter. What good are ideas here? "They're the only things keeping you alive?" replied Soul, not without gentleness. "Just like always," Soul said. And though they had no face to smile with, they could still enjoy the idea of a smile. When oblivion ruptured and time once more poured out, Soul said, "I can't see or hear anything." "You can't smell or taste or touch either," said Soul. Soul sniffed, Or rather, they sniffed. They caught no scent, nor even the feeling of air rushing into their nostrils, nor even the feeling of nostrils. Am I dead? Soul asked. Snorted Soul, without air or nostrils. There was only the connotation of snorting. We both know you can do better than dead. Such a lunchbox way of thinking about infinity. There it was then. They were at least dead. There was panic suddenly, and there was anger, and there was the bewildering quiescence that came from having no sense anymore of where their body ended and the rest of reality began. This is what it feels like to freeze to death, Soul thought. To calm down, to regain a little control, Soul grew Socratic and patient and generous, the way they acted when they were tutoring undergraduates during office hours. They could not feel their own skin, but somehow they could feel ideas growing inside of them, warm and familiar, like soup. So there is an inside to me, Soul reasoned. A new idea arrived instantly, wholesome and hearty, thick as bisque. Am I spread? Gorgeous, said Soul. Apt and useful. You were once a lot more concentrated. Now you're spreading. Good. We're getting somewhere. Soul thought about this, thought about spreading, hated the thought, tried to resist spreading, had no clue what it meant to try and resist spreading. How does one stop spreading? I don't want to spread, Soul said. Why not? Asked Soul. Because spreading is the opposite of identity. Laughed Soul. Wrong, but a useful kind of wrong. Now we're getting somewhere. My name is Soul Pass, Soul said, when time defibrillated them. It's my name too, replied Soul. I used to joke I had the shortest Spanish name in the world. Like a lover who had heard their lover make the same joke too many times before, replied Soul, Spanish names do tend to be long. Don't patronize me. I wasn't. You know I wasn't. Soul sighed, or rather they sighed. Yes, Soul said, I know. I apologize. No need, said Soul. It's just that silence, time ended, time was reborn. Asked Soul, are you waiting for me to finish your sentence? Yes, Soul answered. Why? Because if you knew how to finish my sentence, then I would know you were me. Laughed Soul. Are you the sort of person who finishes other people's sentences for them, Soul Pass? Soul laughed too. No, I don't suppose I am, Soul Pass. Then, said Soul, it was a faulty test to begin with. Soul came to mind again, suddenly, gaspingly. Except there was no air, nor need of it. The only feeling worse than struggling for air is not ever needing it air again, not even for one last goodbye breath. Focus, Soul thought. They cogito ergo summed themselves into some rough idea of equipoise. Only then did they say to Soul, there's not much I can do here, is there? You can try focusing, said Soul. Ha! I was just thinking that, Soul said. Then they added, focusing is good. Focusing is the opposite of spreading. No, replied Soul. Soul ignored Soul. What should I focus on? Perhaps something you love, answered Soul. Your Poppy loves you. Yes, Soul said. Poppy. Soul focused on their Poppy. Their idea became a smaller idea. All their senses returned in a cataract of feeling. There was Poppy, kneeling on a padded kneeler that had been set up in front of Soul's casket. He was alone in the chiaroscuro parlor. He looked like a man made of brooms. He wore a suit, black and baggy, so loose it was almost a wind. His cheeks felt damp, especially in the deepest troughs of his wrinkles. His hands clutched one another on the kneeler's armrest, tied by a rosary. From inside Poppy, Soul could feel the destruction. Poppy felt on the inside the way shattering sounds. I should not be able to know him from the inside, Soul thought. Poppy groaned inwardly, and inside of him that groan remained. He lacked the strength to push the groans out of his lungs. There they sat, his lungs, wet and gray and heavy with unexpellable grief. This idea hurts, Soul said. A lot, replied Soul. Maybe you should stop having this thought. No, I want to comfort my poor Poppy. That, said Soul, is a generous idea. So Soul focused on the idea of comforting their Poppy. That was when they noticed something. An idea, not one of theirs. An idea so strong it was almost an object. Soul approached the idea and then entered it, as if it were an actual place, the way places worked in the mattersome world. It was nice being inside of this idea. No more shattering, no more groaning. A quiet place, a place prepared for comfort. This place was, Soul realized, the idea of them making the journey from beyond the grave to comfort their Poppy. But the strange thing was, they hadn't brought that idea with them. It was as if Poppy had expected them to enter this idea, and bring him solace on the event of their death. It was like stopping at a random hotel and finding a reservation had already been made in your name. Soul, Poppy said, startled, looking around. Soul had no apparatus left to them to hear sound, and yet they heard their Poppy anyway, for his words were rich with ideas, grief, wonder, despair, the faintest brief heat of reprieve. I'm here, Poppy, Soul said. Words are too fast, advised Soul. Take time. Invest yourself in the idea. Soul understood. They took time. They became their own memory and filled their Poppy's idea. They imagined themselves a kind of cartoon radiation, a rock glowing green inside Poppy's heart. You're here, Soul, Poppy said, bringing his rosary-bound hands to his chest. I'm here, Soul thought. I'm here. I'll stay forever. I'll stay until they make me leave. Poppy wept, but not the tears he had been weeping. He wept now, like a god whose tears replenish us the life-giving river. Soul had spread during the time between times. A galaxy winging its stars toward heat death was Soul. I am forgetting things, Soul said. That's the hardest part, answered Soul, woeful, thwarted. Forgetting is bad enough, but knowing you're forgetting? Unutterably cruel. Is someone being cruel to me? Soul felt eager and slightly more alive, asking the question. Is there a someone? Rueful was Soul and filled with kindness. If there is, they haven't announced themselves. I'm so sorry, Soul. You know as much as I do. A little heat left Soul's life then. But when they felt that happen, they were frightened, startled out of their complacency. They grew angry, and anger grew desire. They made an idea of their will, a diamond hard, diamond brilliant will, faceted and prismatic, a wonder to behold. Soul said, I have lost everything, but I will have this diamond for a heart. Said Soul, you are so strong. You give me life. What love Soul felt for Soul then, and you me. We're keeping each other alive. Not just us, though. Oh, so many others. So many holding on to ideas of one Soul pass. Soul, let time stroll on ahead without them. I am just one idea after all, they said. But an afterlife? An afterlife is all the ideas, isn't it? Agreed, Soul, feeling some relief. All the minds and minds and minds. Ah, but now time was returning, which meant time was short. If I don't focus, Soul reasoned, I will be lost, irrevocably dispersed. But if I focus long enough and hard enough, I will find regrets. So many regrets. Is the choice between erasure or eternal remorse? You tried to do good, comforted Soul. You are made of good ideas. I can feel their warmth. But Soul was not to be consoled. They imagined looking time in the eye when they replied, but do they matter, Soul, my warm thoughts? Did I do enough good? Does any good work endure? It's impossible to know if any of it was worth it. It hurt like being born when they repeated, it's impossible to know. Not impossible, said Soul. Surprise made Soul grow ideas. No? No, Soul. We just need to extend our focus elsewhere. Soul was suspicious. Extend our focus elsewhere? That sounds suspiciously like spreading. It is, said Soul. It's both. It's what I've been trying to tell you. It's what you did with your boppy. The idea of boppy helps Soul focus. Boppy, yes. I should visit Boppy again. You should, yes, agreed Soul. But it would be good for you, for your death, to visit people you don't know. That is something I can do? Soul needed time to think, so they bought time by examining time. Time politely continued to pretend to check the time and did not hurry them. Soul finally said to Soul, I don't know how to do that. Boppy I could find because he was ready for me. He had a place prepared. Others have prepared places too, said Soul. I'll show you. A Chicagoland library appeared all around Soul. Quiet, almost empty. An adult sat in a ratty, raggedy armchair. This person hadn't taken off their winter coat or hat. They could be anybody. Until you got into their idea. Then she became Rita. I don't know a Rita, do I? Soul asked. No, said Soul. That's why we're visiting her. Soul contemplated Rita. She's cold. I can feel her thinking she's cold. Rita was always cold. She had been wanting to move somewhere warm for a long time, but everyone she loved lived here. So she shrugged and wore layers. Said Soul, She's also thinking about her sleeve, her tattoo sleeve specifically. Rita couldn't see her tattoo sleeve at the moment because it was hidden beneath a long sleeved shirt and a sweater and a winter coat. It was only the idea of her tattoo that she was having. And that idea, soul and soul, entered. Rita loved her abstract, decorative, utterly art for art's sake sleeve. Contemplating it brought her solace and wisdom in the way of pets and certain statues. Sometimes she had the urge to get it touched up, but no, better to leave it alone, let it age and fade along with her. She could feel goosebumps change the contours of her skin, and in her mind's eye, she pictured how they reshaped the green geometry that stained her arm, the way waves reinvent the geometry of the ocean. She liked poetical conceits, Rita did. She was a reader. Said Soul, "She's reading one of your books." "It's Try a Little Tenderness," Soul said. It was one of Soul's bestsellers, the one that had given their Poppy the retirement he deserved. Soul thought it a fairly tropey rom-com, but it had a good heart and a light touch. Girl meets girl, instant chemistry, but each one feels she isn't worthy of the other. Chapters and chapters of cringy self-sabotage, misunderstandings, misapprehensions. "It's not what it looks like," and "How could you?" and "I thought you were different." But though they had been damaged by their former relationships, they both know a beautiful soul when they encounter one in the wild. They fall in love, commit, kiss, commit some more, and then they hold on tight to one another for all their days and nights. Rita had read Try a Little Tenderness countless times. It was one of the books she read when she needed faith. She often fell asleep to the audiobook. She had brought her own copy to the library to read because they didn't have a copy at this branch, but it was the best place to read it. She loved that hoary armchair. "This is a gift," Soul said. "I treasure this moment," agreed Soul. Swelling with joy, Soul, on an impulse, thought, "Hi." Rita looked up from her book. Rita was atheist as fuck. Rita did not believe dead authors can say hi from within her own body. But the feeling wasn't unfamiliar to her either. A book you love builds souls inside you. A writer you love feels like a friend, even if death has made it impossible for you to meet. "I wish I could talk to her," Soul said. "Like, really talk, with coffee and everything. How much I would give to talk to Rita." "I wish I could give that to you," said Soul. Rita had just arrived at chapter 27. Rita's love of chapter 27 was like the radiator pinging itself to life for the first time in the season. Soul could scarcely think. Life was so suddenly what it always should have been. "It's not what it looks like," Rita quoted from the book, out loud but in a whisper. She was smiling because she knew the future. Laura and Dominique would fall in love by the end of the book, but she was also smiling because Laura and Dominique don't know this in chapter 27. And chapter 27 just keeps on being chapter 27. Rita can revivify this wrinkle in the plot whenever she wants. All she has to do is reread it, and time pulls back the red velvet rope and lets her back in. "Whatever this is," Soul said, "it's more than nothing. It's so much more than nothing." "So much more than nothing," Rita said, out loud, in a whisper. But those words were not on the page. She wondered what made her say that. And then, touching her nose, dewy and dog warm, she added, "Hey, I'm not cold." Me neither, Soul said, and said Soul. That's the story, folks. Thanks so much.
You're so good. I just have one little poem to bring our entertainment part of the night out, and Carlos will be playing the claves again. Claves. All of them. At least two of them. There's two different pronunciations in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. We all did when we were in New Orleans. This is a found poem. I mean, I wrote it, but I forgot I wrote it, and then I found it. So it's like I never wrote it, like I found it in a book, but it was my blog. Okay, so it's called Jack and Jill and That Old Silver Moon. Jack, said his sister, I'm thirsty and sore. Let's seek out the well of the moon. His water so silver runs endless and sweet, a drop or I'll perish soon. Jill, said her brother, it's thieves we will be, the two of us rascals and lords. We'll fly to the moon and we'll drink of his well and steal all the gems of his hoard. The moon has a cannon as white as an egg. It blisters and blusters and roars. It blunders and thunders and crack goes your pate and down falls your head evermore. Now Jill is a beggar and Jack is an urchin and long burn the stars in the night. They watch the youths climb through the murk and the grime to steal them a pail full of light. Boom goes the moon and the white cannon fires, and thus a new crater is born. The bucket lies broken, the children the same, with none but the stars left to mourn. Jack, said his sister, we've had an adventure. Jill, said her brother, it's true. And if I must die, why, I'll die in the sky, and at least at the end it's with you. The moon, he was moved like a god on his throne, and so like a god he was kind. The dust of their tongues did he lay with a kiss, and they turned all to silver so fine. Now Jill is the queen of the well of the moon, and Jack is the king of the egg. It's on them to mete out their mercy or murder, two children too hungry to beg. Thank you, Carlos. Carlos on the claves. He was an auxiliary percussionist in high school, so we love to resurrect that.
The end.
Now,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mary and Tina and everybody. And Barbara, do we have questions?
I think Barbara might be speaking, but we can't hear her.
Barbara, darling, I can't hear you. Well, Tina, can we hear you? No, maybe they're all are. Oh, there you are.
I just went off.
And Mary, can we hear you?
Okay, now we can. I was muted, but now I'm not.
Okay.
Well, if I can talk, I just want to say I loved that poem and I love that story, and I love hearing the claves with all the poetry. It's so amazing.
I think we've got one for each pronunciation.
This is my clave and this is my clave.
That was awesome, y'all. I really enjoyed the stories and the poems. This was really fun.
Yeah, that was absolutely wonderful. I hope everyone can hear me now.
Yes.
Very good. I will ask if anyone. Amy has a question. Is what's going on with THIG or Thig and the sequel to Saint Death's Daughter?
Well, Thig, Carlos should answer since it is a Carlos question.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Thig is in process. Basically, the goal is by January 1st to have a sizable chunk finished with the outline. I've gotten drafts of both of these things, and then my agent will be sending them out into the world and trying to procure contracts. So,
what's the one sentence pitch for Thig?
Oh, I mean, I think they know it pretty well, but basically it's a first-person plural narrative. The story is told by all the rats of New York all at once, and they hire a middle grade aged exterminator to basically help them with an extermination problem that they have of their own. There's a dragon that's eating up all the rats in the sewers of New York, and so they need saving. So they enlist Consuelo Matanunca to help them.
And the semester is almost over, so then he can write some more and we'll be very cozy and write a lot. I too am writing the sequel to Saint Death's Daughter, which is currently out. It came out this year along with my story collection Dark Breakers, and the sequel is called Saint Death's Herald. Not like Harold, but Harold.
Harold! The Saint Death is here to see you!
Hey.
And but yeah, it's in progress. I'm again chugging away. The first one took me 12 years, so we'll see if I can do this other one in less than that. We'll see.
And I have a question about, now you may have mentioned this, but I'll ask anyways. Where do you see the Devil and Lady Midnight going?
Ooh, well, Tina and Mary and I did a level up because we were like 1 hour a week all year, like working on it. And we had an idea that we would give it to our agents and see if they wanted it, when we were done with all 6 episodes and all the music, we could maybe give it to our agents and let them shop it out to some of the great audio theater people of the world. We also submitted the first 30 pages and the first 6 songs to the Eugene O'Neill Theater Festival. We don't know if that will go anywhere, but if it gets in, and it would be like 6 people would be chosen out of however many thousand people submit. But if it gets in, then it'd be workshopped with actors in a full production stage, like maybe just a stage reading, but like at the Eugene O'Neill Theater in New London, which would be super, super cool. And it would give us an idea of where to go. But right now we're just in the enjoyment process of the creation and the songs. It's been so fun.
And regardless, like we leveled up we were lucky and fortunate enough to get to do a tiny retreat in October where we all got together. Claire found us a B&B in New Orleans, and we were just together for 3 days singing and then singing cat meows as part of it, because there's definitely part of the creative process, but singing and inventing and writing and composing, and that was amazing. So just getting to do that, I think, pushed us forward a lot, and we're looking forward to doing that again too.
Yeah, I'm putting just a little bit in front of the audience at the World Fantasy, and now here, this is the first time people are hearing it, and it's.
So thanks all of you for coming to listen, because this is the first times we're really getting to kind of put it out there and let people hear it and workshop it a little bit.
Well, I know that I and everyone who's been listening is going to be watching, because I really, really want to see the final production.
Wouldn't it be cool? Like if all 6 episodes would be about like a 6-hour production. I sometimes imagine like one of those stage reading experiences where there's like 6 black box theaters and people like wander in and they see half of it. They drink and eat, and then they go have a wonderful New York dinner, and then they come back for the evening performances of episodes 4 through 6. Like it's a full day like festival of one show, but that's just a pipe dream.
Oh God, that sounds.
You can double feature it with Philip Glass right next door.
So, what else are you all working on?
Mary.
Okay. Well, other than the musical, I've got a Patreon that I have to feed or it gets rabid. No, but I just released, like I said, the gaming album, and now that baby is out in the world. I have all these backlogs of songs that I wrote during the pandemic and before through Soul Writers, where I was doing a weekly song, and so I want to do another collection of those and release it. And that's kind of where I'm looking right now.
And can you tell people a little bit about your gaming album and like about Filk, just in case not everybody knows about what you do?
Right. Okay. Actually, I'm going to do this thing there. Now I know what I'm saying. No, I'm not. Okay. So I have a gaming album because my husband and I met playing D&D. So it's kind of in part of my backstory, right? But I tend to write story songs and meta songs about gaming, especially D&D, for instance, but also Palladium and a couple of other systems. I even have a song about Zombies Run, the app, where, yes, you're desperately fleeing zombies and running 5Ks and eluding them there as well. But Filk, basically they call it the music of science fiction. There are obviously other groups of musicians that do, like there's wizard rock, there's nerdcore, there's a lot of different groups. What makes Filk particularly different? It's just a bunch. They started off with Star Trek and Star Wars parodies, and then eventually got to where they were writing their own original music. It's a very open, exciting, accepting community, and we have several conventions, including OVFF in Columbus, Ohio, and GFilk coming up. But I write jazzy folk music, and a lot of it's more folk oriented, so that's kind of how mine is different. That was a bit rambly, but
No, it's
continuing.
That was
Someone else.
great.
And they can find you on Patreon. Is it Magnus Retail on Patreon, or is it Mary Crowell?
It is Dr. Mary C. Crowell on Patreon. That is how you find me.
And magnusretail.com is your website, right?
That is correct. And it has just been updated by my friend Teresa Powell. So it's looking good now.
And you can
So-
find her albums there. And I'm just telling you, Scattering Seeds on the Pomegranate Tour. And is it I Have Missed You at My Table is the new
It
one?
is I Have Missed You at My Table. Most of the songs were written before the pandemic, except that one title song, because I have missed everybody at my table a lot.
It's a lovely song. It's super. You must listen, everyone. You must. Tina, what are you working on?
The-
Oh, I have been working on so much this year, and this has been like one of like the many wonderful things that have sort of come out as my children have returned to school, and I've been able to sort of let my brain immerse itself in writing again. But besides this, I just turned in a funny superhero middle grade to my agent. And I have a Choose Your Own Adventure of all things coming out in March called Glitter Pony Farm that I'm very excited about.
What? That sounds awesome.
It was so much fun to write a Choose Your Own Adventure. Honestly, I had the best time. So that was really, really fun. Right now, I'm currently writing two different things. I'm working on a cozy, super, super cozy fantasy rom-com where people drink a lot of coffee, which is, I had to give up caffeine. So it's just wish fulfillment, really. And then my friend Carolyn Yoakum and I are writing a mystery story together, a science fiction mystery story where neither of us knows who done it, but hopefully we'll find out by the end.
This is so exciting.
It does, yes.
I'm putting together two chapbooks, one of like a bunch of found poetry from my blog for the past 8 years, and then one that is probably going to be called, it's like a themed chapbook, like a long poem broken up into shorter poems called The Future Former King of Elfland's Printing Press. And Carlos, you have some exciting news.
Well, so this year, just like a few months ago, I became a Marvel writer. So this is the first story that I wrote. It's inside of this anthology called Comunidades. And my story is the America Chavez story that got featured here. I got to make my own Marvel supervillain. I'm extremely excited about this. This guy's called Six Fist. He's all fists, no brains. It's so much fun to write. And if you are a subscriber to the Infinity format, if you don't know what the Infinity format is, so most comic books are on a page. You write it like it's a page. You basically say how many panels you have on the page and whatever. In the Infinity format, comes from Korea, adopted by Marvel. It's a scroll format made for phones and pads, so it's just an infinite scroll. But you design the comic completely differently, and it creates different kinds of affordances and different kind of storytelling opportunities.
Yeah.
I have a Miles Morales Infinity story coming out
My.
December 24th. So that is really exciting that I've gotten to be able to bust into the Marvel bullpen there for a little bit.
And the title is?
It's called 43. And for those of you who know, Miles Morales was bitten by spider number 42. There's something going on there.
It's a Noche Buena short story.
That's right. It features a 10-foot blender full of coquito, the largest coquito in the world. So.
And that super villain sounds amazing.
Fabulous. Okay. All right. So we have Mr. Classicor once says Marvel is part of Disney. So who gets to be the Disney princess, Carlos or Claire?
Carlos,
I'm already there.
look at him. He's so sweet. Like when he sings, the birds come and nest on his shoulders. I'm the bird.
That's impressive. I couldn't do that. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been an absolutely fabulous hour. And I thank you all. I thank Carlos Hernandez, Claire Cooney, Dr. Mary Crowell, and Tina Connolly. I also thank Amy Goldschlager, who has been telling us what the audience has been saying. She is our official audience wrangler.
Thank you, Amy.
And,
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
of course, there is producer Jim Freund, and who is also our engineer. And
Thank you, Jim.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank
Jim.
And just so people know, there is a Galactic Terrors reading going on just as we speak. And if people could Google that and go there, that would be great because it also features some really good people.
Thank you so much for hosting, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
you.
This was wonderful.
And happy
Thank you,
holidays to everybody out there. Oh, do those
Absolutely. We hope you enjoy whatever holiday you may celebrate, or simply enjoy the winter if you don't celebrate any. Enjoy. We will see you all again in January. Take care, stay well, and thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh man, you all are awesome.